Welcome to the Creating Success Out of Failure podcast. Thank you for joining us. Our mission, our vision is to help salespeople and entrepreneurs get through the misinformation that's out there. We want to talk about everyone's trials and tribulations because you know what? We all know at the end of the day, success is not a linear straight line. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get beaten down. But how do you get up? How do you overcome that? That's what we're going to be going over on these podcasts. So thank you for joining us and enjoy the podcast. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jonathan and Evan here. So first off, I want to thank you guys for joining us and leaving us the reviews that you have. We just want to reach as many people as we can in order to give back and help. So I want to go into one really, really important thing that can either take you to the next level or it can kind of destroy you and consume you and hold you back, right? And I got news for you. Everybody deals with this, and it's doubt, right? And there's a lot of different places that you can, have doubt. I'm going to just go into the biggest one, right, is self-doubt, okay? And I think that no matter what, if you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And I don't mean to say some corny cliche, but it is the truth. One of the things that has always helped me tremendously, that I've never really doubted myself. Of course, there's going to be times when things are hard and you need to take a step back and you're like, hey, why am I doing this? And then refocus and reset. But as soon as you doubt yourself, that's when, you're going to start snowballing. Things are going to go downhill. Evan, does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's really true. It can really kind of creep in as well. Like these small thoughts will kind of come in. Oh, I don't know if I can do this task. Or I don't know if I can do this, and it can snowball into very big doubts. Especially if you're not actively. I'm sure we could dive into this as well throughout the podcast, but especially if you're not actively trying to with things maybe like affirmations or gratitude or certain things that might seem like cliche or I don't need to do that, like meditation, things like that. If you're not doing any of those things, it's easy for doubt to come in because you're not thinking those positive thoughts. You're only going to be thinking those negative thoughts.
Absolutely. I totally believe that you will attract what you put out, right? And when you're confident and you're grateful and you're happy, you're going to be more likely to find a solution, right, than you are to, look and dwell on negatives. Because you know what? If you dwell on negatives, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what I mean by that is, if you can go in a room and pinpoint all the things that are wrong instead of looking at the opportunity or all the things that are right, inevitably, you're not going to be fun. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to find the solutions, and it's going to hold you back.
And like if there are 10 people, 9 people say you're doing a great job and one person says you're doing a bad job, don't focus on the one person saying you're doing a bad job. Focus on the other 9 people saying you're doing a good job.
Absolutely. And you got to understand something. The people that, from my experience, the people that are negative are always going to be louder, right? Think about it when you eat at a restaurant and, if it was good. I don't know how many times I've actually left a review unless it was absolutely outstanding. Versus, if you go to a restaurant, you eat, and there was a few things you didn't like. I still personally don't leave the negative review unless there was, some crazy circumstance. However, people are more apt to write a negative review than a positive review, right? Just the society we live in, just the world we live in. And you're just going to have to deal with that, You got to shake it off. Listen, if there are things that you can take from that, take away from that, utilize them and make improvements. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not telling you to block out someone's perspective.
That could be probably a whole other conversation is taking criticism and being coachable is kind of what that would be without taking that on and feeling that doubt.
Yeah, 100%. You need to be coachable. I've had people that came into my programs that were not coachable, right? And they're going to just do what they do, and they're either going to succeed and fail, and that's all on their own. However, if they were coachable and they made the commitment to, listen to the coaching changes, they would do a lot better. They would improve faster. Okay, think about pro athletes. If an athlete isn't coachable, he still might do pretty well, but he's never going to be elite. All right, there's a reason people coach and people give certain feedback. But what I'm saying is, don't let doubt hold you back. And the biggest thing to do when you start feeling like that is, one, think about all the good things that are going on in your life. Be grateful for the good things. And then work on stacking small wins, right? If you start looking at, getting a company from 0 to 1 million, right? And I've done this, okay? Or, from sales, you want to make, you want to start off and it's your first day, or you're switching companies, or whatever the situation might be. Your goal is to make $200,000. Don't look at it that, hey, I have to make $200,000. How am I going to do that? It's stacking those small wins. It's bringing on a few clients, bringing on a few referral partners. In terms of business, it's all right. Well, if I want to get to $1 million, I roughly have to do, hold on, I want to give you guys numbers. I roughly got to do about 84,000 a month. All right. Well, month one, you did 30,000. Is the world going to end? No. Can you pay your bills? Can you pay your vendors? Can you pay your employees? Those are the most important things. Now figure out, you did 30, how to get to 40. Once you're at 40, how do you get to 50? You have to take things one step at a time and stack small wins. And the biggest challenge you're going to get, the biggest barrier for you will be self-doubt. Don't ever let that creep in. Be grateful and think about the small wins that you have to stack up to get to your goal. Now, there's going to be friends that doubt you. There's going to be partners that doubt you. There's going to be family that doubt you. And there's going to be people that just want to be negative. Let's just call them haters. I hate that. I really don't like that word because everyone uses it and tosses it around so much. So, let's just call them doubters, if you will. All right. But friends, let's go into, the friend thing, because that's important. I grew up, I have great friends. I'm still friends with a lot of the people I went to school with. Does that mean I talk to them or see them every day? Absolutely not. And I obviously have, childhood friends that I hold dear to me. We all have different goals and aspirations. All right. When I tell them what I'm trying to do, what I'm striving to do, what my goals are, it's different from theirs. Okay. So when you have friends that say, oh, how are you going to do that? Or that's impossible, right? Or you can't do that, use that as fuel, right? And not to stick it in their face, but that should give you some level of energy. If you're a competitive person, if you are an A-type person, that should give you a level of fuel to make you want to go above and beyond and smash those goals, right? The reason why they're portraying that is they don't think that's realistic for them. And when people think that way, it's not real. They feel it's not realistic in general. And that's not the case, right? You have an Elon Musk whose stock just hit, 500 a share. Guy's built and sold, a very, very successful companies. If he ever listened to all the people that thought he was crazy, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing today. That guy's going to change the world, right? Same thing with partners.
And I'd like to interject really quick and say that I've had experience with that as well. I had friends from high school who went the traditional route, college. 2 of them are actually going to become lawyers. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I talk about building a business, because I started my business when I was in high school, when I talk about doing that, I'm only met with doubt and resistance, simply just because they don't understand how that can happen, and they don't understand because it's not as quote unquote secure. And so you just have to come from a place where you just have to be totally 100% secure, knowing I know my business is viable. I can see the success. I've been working hard at it and I'm making it happen. And, just be confident in what you're doing.
And I got news for you. Nothing happens overnight. All right. The biggest barrier I see in anything is people expect immediate success. The world doesn't work like that. It's trial and error. Okay. The more work you put in and the more you learn and the more you work at it after hours, the more likely you are to achieve your goals. Right. And you're going to learn along the way things that you did wrong. That's why I named the podcast Creating Success Out of Failure. Right. Because that's what I've done. And it's just because I just refuse to give up, and I believe in myself and I believe in my team. Next, partners. I've had partners that have doubted certain goals. Not now. It's a little different now. I found the right partner, in the past, I've had partners that say, "Oh, we can't do this or we can't do that." Guess what? I got rid of them, did everything I said I was going to do, made a ton of money, and that was it. So don't let a partner hold you back too. He might not have your skill set, he might not have your connections, he might not have your drive and work ethic, right? There are reasons they are protruding. Sometimes when you want to talk about your goals and the success that you're going to have or you're having, it seems unrealistic. All right. And if people are offended by your goals, one, you probably have pretty good goals. So congrats. And two, that tells you you're on the right path and you're about to do some really, really great things, right? Family members, this is very, very true. Okay. So we just had the holidays. I'm sure some of you that are listening here on this podcast have sat down and had conversations with your family. And as soon as you start bringing up, goals or what you've achieved, they're saying, well, that can't be legal, or that is, there's no way you're going to do that. And it's just because they haven't done it. They're portraying their beliefs onto you, and you should not stand for that for a second. Usually I get up and leave the room where I'm respectful. And you know what? I honestly try to cut a lot of those people out of my life. I'll tell you guys a quick story. One of my advisors was sitting down at the holidays, and everyone's talking about how much they I don't know how it came up, but what he made came up, and somebody's like, "Oh, that can't be legal." Imagine having that mindset, right? These are not people that you want to be, discussing these things with. All right, these are small-minded people, and I got news for you. You're going to get that a lot if you're on the right path. So just know that when you feel that, when you see that, when you hear that, when you experience that, you are on the right path and doing what you should be doing. And the solution I have is just keep going and keep pushing hard. All right. And if it really does affect you, and it shouldn't affect you, and I understand how it could affect you. So what you should be doing is removing yourself or those people from that situation. Right? There's no room in your life for negativity, for people that doubt you. And every time that someone doubts you or has that type of feedback, my suggestion is just put it in the bank, use it for fuel. Think about sports teams, right? If it's like right now, it's the NFL playoffs. If somebody goes from the opposing team and says something that they're going to destroy the other team, what happens? That gets put up in the locker room, right? That gets put up. That's what they call bulletin board material. And you know what? When you build enough of that, it really can be a driving force of your success. And that's how you should take this. And especially when we get to, doubters, right? Because I got news for you. Social media, I want to say the last 2 or 3 years, it is very, very hard to be on. You have people that talk about how much they're doing and they haven't done it, right? So you have people that are fakes, and you have people that are constantly just commenting negative shit or saying, well, there's no way you can do that, or you're going to fail, or I hope you fail. You got to block it out entirely and just use it as fuel. I mean, I think that's one of the best things I've ever learned. I started playing hockey when I was at a really late age, and the first few years I was terrible. I was probably one of the worst people out there, but you know what? I kept training. And the same guys that were, giving me a lot of shit, I blew past them. Same thing with sales. You step in a room, if you're in the wrong environment, you're going to have people not wanting you to succeed or not wanting you to do better than them. You start doing better than them, they start chirping, and that's life in general. Use that as fuel, and don't let that creep into your head, because the most valuable resource is your mindset and your headspace. And if you're determined to do something, if you're driven to do something, you're going to do it. That's the bottom line.
And you really can, it's interesting. When you start getting that criticism, when you start getting that negative feedback, you're really pushing up against the next level. That's when you get the most resistance, really.
Absolutely. And what I've learned through this journey, right? And this journey is never ending, because the goal is always a moving target. What I have in plan for this year, and once I smash those goals, they're not going to be the same goals I have for next year. Next year's goals are going to be way bigger, way harder. And every time you level up, you're going to feel it right before you get to that point where you want it to be. It's going to get the hardest it's ever been, right? Think about it when you play video games. You get through a whole level and then you're on the boss. Well, guess what? To get to that next level, you have to beat the boss, and that boss is usually really hard. It might take you a few times. As long as you don't shut the game off, you keep going. You're gonna figure out how to do it. Life, business, sales, it's no different. So I think that's a big takeaway is and here's the thing. Like I said, your mindset is your most valuable resource. So when you start having these things creep in, the best thing that you can do is, one, take a step back, be grateful for the opportunity that you have in front of you. Set little micro goals and start stacking small wins. If it's really bothering you, meditate, go to the gym, get some level of physical activity, get your endorphins up, and then go to task and work on small wins. And once you get a few of them in a row going, you're going to build momentum. And for you to do anything in life, you need to carry enough momentum to get you through it. And that's how you're going to do it, is start stacking these small wins. And I'll tell you this, another thing. It's almost odd to say, but your subconscious is very in tune with what you do and the promises you make to yourself. What I mean by that is, if you say you're going to wake up at a certain time, go to the gym, read a book, meditate, then get to the office early. If you don't do that, you're starting at a deficit. You're starting at a momentum deficit. All right. So when you keep those small little tasks, those small little wins, when you keep that promise to yourself and you start building momentum earlier in the day, you're gonna basically eliminate that doubt, and you're gonna blast through and get everything done you need to get done. And if you don't, for some reason, again, take a step back, analyze why it didn't happen, and keep pushing forward. Does that make sense, Evan?
Yeah, exactly. It's very true.
All right, cool. And another thing Evan, wanted to bring up, and I think this is a real big thing in today's day and age, since there are so many people that want to throw their opinion. By the way, no one's opinion matters unless you make it matter, right? And no one's opinion is going to pay your bills. So you always have to remember that. What other people say doesn't matter. If there's a lesson to be learned, take it. But if there's not, move on, because it's not going to help you one way or the other. But a lot of people today have a fear of judgment, right? If you look on social media, I think social media can still be and is one of the greatest ways to build your business, get clients, build a reputation, have influence. And even though I hate that word because everyone keeps throwing it around, and when you have fear of judgment and you're letting that fear stop you from doing what you need to do, okay, that's a problem, right? And some people call it imposter syndrome, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I think the biggest thing that you guys have to realize is no one is judging you, okay? That is all in your head. Think about how many people, are posting things or saying things or making videos or making even a podcast. If I thought and we thought that we were going to be judged after each and every episode, it can get nerve-wracking to come on and do this. When you make a live video on Facebook or live on Instagram to talk about how you can help people, how you can reach people, maybe a product or service you're offering, if you thought that everything that you were doing is judged, you're never going to have the success you're going to want, because that's always going to stop you from doing what you need to do, doing the work that's required to be successful, right? You cannot let that sink in. And there are times, there have been times, I think, in everybody's life where they have a little bit of imposter syndrome, meaning, well, how did I get here? What am I doing? How am I responsible for this? Like if I go back, 7 years and think, me having kids, I'm totally different than I was 7 years ago. And I can tell you that 7 years ago, no one would say, oh, it's a good idea for you to have two boys just like you know, and you kind of learn, you learn, you adapt, you change, you improve, most importantly, and you figure it out.
And a lot of it, I know, I mean, a lot of that is really hits to your confidence. Like it's hard, sometimes it might be hard to keep up your confidence when you have that imposter syndrome and when there's a lot of doubt out there. And so I kind of wanted to ask as well, Jonathan, do you have any tips as far as building confidence in business like this? Because I know a lot of these doubts, the main way they'll get to you is if you don't have that confidence. Because if you have confidence in yourself, it doesn't matter what anyone says.
I agree with that, and I think a lot of it comes down to building that momentum by stacking small wins and keeping those little promises to yourself. The other thing, is when you're building a business, building sales, you have to understand it's always going to be one step at a time. It's very rare that you're going to make this crazy leap, right? But if you're always, and when you're always moving forward, what I mean by that is if you're not good at marketing, what can you do? You can hire a marketer. Okay. Hopefully they know what they're doing. You can put out a ton of content. You can read a lot of books. You could buy a course. You need to, you know, figure it out. And the way to figure it out and keep your confidence and keep that momentum, keeping the little promises to yourself. Hey, I'm going to do this. If you are not working towards your goal, you're automatically going to, your mind is going to tell itself, hey, this isn't really that important to me, or hey, I'm going to fail, so I'm going to stop trying. And once that's the danger zone, right? When you get into that danger zone, that's when you're going to have issues. And I can tell you some of the things that have really helped me, because we talk about all the people in your life that could provide negative feedback, and not negative feedback in a good way, negative feedback in a very negative way. You doubt, like the family, friends, partners, haters, yourself. You have to be, you want to surround yourself with the right people, right? You need to surround yourself with people that are like minded, that have big goals, maybe people that have been there and done that before so they can help you and guide you in the right ways and the right steps and the right actions to take. That's a big reason why, I wanted to start doing this podcast. I mean, I joined two I don't know if I would call them. I guess you could call them masterminds. It's Arate Syndicate and Apex, and everybody there is one, supportive. Two, they are, they have done it, or they're in the process of doing it, and they all have big goals, and they all hold each other accountable, right? So when you have a network that is strong like that, and that can help you and support you and believe in you, that is probably the most important thing that you can do to get your mind in the right mindset. And if you don't have the money to do that, or there's something holding you back from doing that, that's okay. Listen to, there's so much free content out there nowadays, whether it's podcasts or books, even some of these Instagram influencers, or Facebook influencers. Make sure your mind is consuming the right content. All right. And if you're consuming the right content, you're going to have a positive outlook. You're going to have that ability to, go from failure to failure, learn, change, adapt, improve, and ultimately hit that goal. Does that make sense, Evan?
Yeah, that really does make the difference between taking on that doubt and simply just being positive and not being able to take on that doubt. Because if you're not consuming positive content, and if you're not surrounding yourself with positive people, then you're not going to think and feel positively. Therefore, that doubt will get to you very easily. But if you only consume positive, uplifting content, then if someone doubts you, it really won't be that big of a deal because your mind never thinks about it. And eventually, you won't even think about failure. Like I listen to a bunch of podcasts based around leadership and business and things like that, and books and things. And I don't really even remember the last time I had a thought along the lines of, oh, what if I fail? it's just not really in the cards anymore. You know what I mean? It's not how am I going to fail? It's how am I going to succeed? So it takes some time, but it really makes a difference.
It's the difference between winning and losing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't win today, I know I'm going to win tomorrow. I'm going to win it eventually.
Yeah.
We actually, I'll give you a great example. So, at Sprout, we've been working on a program to help Amazon sellers, right? So a lot of Amazon sellers have to get paid. They don't get paid. They get paid twice a month. And the challenge that these guys have is that in getting paid twice a month, they're selling inventory. They could be selling, $5,000 worth of inventory every day. Well, what happens if their stores run out? Well, guess what? Their rankings drop. That's probably one of the worst things. They stop making the amount of money they were making. It's probably one of the worst things an Amazon seller could do is have their store run low and they don't have the cash, to replenish inventory. Well, we came out with, or we worked with several companies to get a program together, several underwriters to get a program together. And the first 3 underwriters we went to were interested and then said no. And we've been sitting on probably close to like 200 applications, almost $3 or $4 million worth of business without advertising, right? For these people to have this program. Well, we kept pushing, and now we have 2 or 3 companies that, 2 or 3 underwriters that are, all right, let's go, we got it. So now, we could have dropped that, we could have stopped at the first 2 or 3 people that were uncomfortable. Now we have 3 that are all lined up, ready to go and saying, give me the business. So now we just have to build out the technology, put everything in place, and scale. And we already have it. Like, we're already servicing these clients, which is great. So I think the important thing is if we let doubt creep in that instant, we're not helping those people and we're not earning that business. At the end of the day, that cannot be an option. And another thing that people forget is, and when they let doubt take over, they forget why they started doing what they're doing, right? So my why has always been, my kids, and just being very competitive and wanting to be successful and help a lot of people. And there are times if things are hard, all you have to do is look at a picture. I just have to look at a picture of them, picture of my vision board. You know what? Going through all the crap, going through all the shit makes it, that's my payoff. That's why I'm doing it. So just remember your why, stack small wins, keep your promises to yourself, and surround yourself with like-minded people that are going to push you, support you, help you. And that's what's going to, help you get to the next level. And I'm telling you, use that doubt as fuel. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with remembering people that said, hey, you're not going to do that, or you're not doing that, or that's impossible. They're just projecting on you. So when they project on you, use it as motivation to take yourself to that next level.
I'd also like to come in and say that it's not an overnight thing. Like, if you listen to one positive podcast, like you listen to this one podcast episode, right? Don't sit back and think, yes, now my mindset is changed and doubt will no longer influence me. It does take some time of, consuming that type of content for it to work. So if, after listening to this episode, you realize that, oh, wait, nothing's actually different yet. It's because, that's true. Nothing is overnight. You can't be an overnight success. So don't get discouraged. Just keep at it. And eventually you'll all of a sudden realize, oh, hey, I haven't thought of doubt or failure in a long time. I didn't even notice. Well, you just have to trust the process and keep listening and consuming that positive content.
Well, I don't think it's enough to consume it, right? You can consume anything you want. At the end of the day, if you don't take action on it, it's not going to matter. I talked last week about, there are people in my program that are crushing it. And there are people in my program that might not even have gone through it yet, but they paid for it. All right. So you can consume and listen to all the positive content you want, and it will help. And the only thing that's going to get you what you want and make you hit your goals is consistent action. right? So yeah, learn, stay positive, but be consistent in your actions, right? And I see it too. I see even some of my top people, right? There's a there's a something that, well, I think a lot of salespeople do is they hit these upper limits, right? Or they have a great month and then they stop doing what got them there. Okay. And then they fall off the wagon or they have 2 or 3 bad months in a row and then they get right back onto it. Did anything change? No. Did their skill set change? No. Did the leads change? Probably not. You know what changed? Their mindset and their attitude and the amount of action they were taking. They know the steps that they have to do. Everything's figured out. Everything's there to do it. They're just not taking the appropriate amount of action.
Yeah, action really does make the difference. You have to live it, and it's one thing to listen to it, and it's one thing to talk and surround yourself with people who are positive, like we talked about. It's one thing to consume that positive content, but usually with those kinds of people and with that kind of content, there's some message or there's some takeaway, right? We always try to put at the end of our podcast episodes some kind of takeaway, some kind of action item for you, the listener, to go and do. If you don't do that, then nothing will really change. But if you do that, and let's say you listen to 10 different podcasts and you take each of the different action steps, well, I mean, that's a lot of action that you've been taking and it moves you in the right direction. So,
It
yeah.
should, right? And I just want to clear up a few things that you said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many coaches, so I don't think there's a right mix of how many coaches somebody should have. Okay. And there are a lot of people out there that want to be coaches, want to be consultants. My biggest thing with this is it's very hard to measure what they've done in the past. Unless you can verify what they've done and the type of people they are, it's hard to take advice from them. You know, I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you should consult for this or coach sales." Well, at the end of the day, right? I've been in the small business lending space. Do I know a lot about businesses? Absolutely. Do I know a lot about coaching and training? Yes. Do I know a lot about sales? Of course. And could I do that? I could. I know that when I put something out there, I want it to be the best that there ever was, is, will be. Okay. In my mind, that's my thought process. And I want to be able to impact as many lives as I can. I want to help as many people as possible. To do that, I feel like I need to be an absolute expert in what I'm doing. There are people out there that do not have that mindset. They do not have those intentions, and they just want to make money by being coaches. And if they help people, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have 5 or 6 of those people that don't specialize in what you're doing, and they're all giving you different advice, conflicting advice, it's enough to make somebody go crazy and certainly fail. Right? So I want people to be clear, verify who the coach is. You need to get a feel for them to make sure they have the right intentions and that they can help you and they will help you. Right? And it's not just some crazy money grab. Speak to past clients, speak to people they've worked with in the past. Right? There's ways to verify this. Honestly, grabbing a tax return or W would not be the worst idea in the world. And there's nothing wrong. Listen, if there's nothing wrong with a coach that's making $50,000 a year, $60,000 a year, but that coach shouldn't be coaching people that want to make $300,000 a year. Why? Because he hasn't done it, right? He hasn't been there. All right. That's like me talking about, I have a business that does 100 million a year. I don't have I don't have a business that does $100 million a year. I'm not qualified to coach somebody that wants to take a business to $100 million a year. Can I take them to, 8 figures? Yes, I can. I can't take them to 9 or 10 figures. I haven't done that yet. Right. So be clear about that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. When I got coaching, from people that are way ahead of me in what they've done, and they're verified. So that's a really, really important item. And I didn't want to or mean to talk about that on this podcast. It's just, it's so so important, right?
Something good to keep in mind, because when people are listening to this, one of the first things they're probably going to think of to do is, besides, because first we talked about toxic people in your life, right? People who don't align with where you want to be, and distancing yourself from them. So they're going to think, okay, well, who do I interact with then? Who do I put in my circle? Who do I build relationships with? That's something really good to keep in mind, because you don't want to just go building relationships with anyone, like meaningful, lasting relationships. You want to make sure that you choose the people in your circle with care. So I think that's a good tip for people to keep in mind.
It is. And I think more importantly, if you're trying to get to a certain level, I do believe in having a coach or a mentor, right? And I understand, like, we all have shortcomings, right? Like, no one should go to me for, to run Facebook ads. I can promise you that. It's sales, it's business finance, it's business structure. And I'm not your Facebook ad guy. Make sure you're going to the right coach for the right things that has a proven track record. So, again, let's recap. You feel a little bit of doubt, that's normal. Imposter syndrome, a lot of people have that, right? What do you want to do to, overcome that? One, okay, and this is for self-doubt, which I think is the most damaging. Outside noise is just that. It's outside noise. Use that as fuel, okay? If family, friends, a partner, or anybody, remove that stuff and use it as bulletin board material and fuel, right? Well, what are the ways to truly build momentum and get past any self-doubt that you have, right? It's simple, okay? Do the little, keep the little promises to yourself. Be grateful for what you have going on in your life and the opportunities ahead of you, right? Even if they seem like a lot of work. When you have that goal, break down those goals into little steps. And if you keep those promises to yourself and work on little action items, you're going to start building probably the most powerful thing in the world, which is momentum, right? When you start building momentum, it's going to be much, much easier to get where you're going and do what you have to do. And, like we just talked about, having a coach and surrounding yourself with the right people that are, of the same mindset of you and as you, and that can support you, is everything. And if you can't afford that right now, or, you're not in a position to do that, that's okay, right? Then consume as much free content like this podcast, like other people, so there's a lot of other good podcasts out there too. Consume as much free content as you can, keep your mindset positive, and most importantly, take consistent action. All right. I hope this episode has helped you. If you're listening, please do me a favor, subscribe and share this and leave us a 5-star review. I really appreciate that. And like we say every single week, the people that are doing that, we're going to reach out and we're going to do something special for you. We're going to pick people at random. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great, great day.
That wraps up this episode. Remember, we are not here to sell anything. We're only here to help people, help entrepreneurs, help salespeople level up, get their business and finances and health to the next level. So please, we're never going to sell you anything on the show. If you got any value at all, just one little thing, all I ask is a 5-star review and that you share this episode on social media. Thank you, and continue leveling up.
So we make it.